Ryan Nowell grabbed his coach's arm, hard. In a school where his last name opened every door, he expected fear. He expected submission. What he got was silence, and then pain. 3 seconds later, the richest athlete at Northcrest Academy was on the floor, gasping, his arm locked in a hold so precise it felt surgical. "I said," Coach Carolyn Johnson told him quietly, "leave." And in that moment, Ryan realized something terrifying. Money doesn't protect you from the wrong person. Northcrest Academy, nestled in the rolling hills outside Hartford, Connecticut, where tuition costs more than most people's salaries, where last names open doors, where money doesn't just talk, it makes the rules. And Ryan Nowell had the right last name. The Nowell Family Athletic Center, the Nowell Scholarship Fund, the Nowell wing of the science building. His grandfather's portrait hung in the main hall. His father sat on the board of trustees. His family's donations kept half the school running. Ryan knew it. Everyone knew it. He was the star of the track team, a 400-meter specialist with college scouts circling. Fast, talented, untouchable. Teachers tolerated his attitude. Administrators excused his behavior. Coaches worked around his schedule. Because at Northcrest, Ryan Nowell didn't follow the rules. The rules followed him. So when the school announced a new head track coach in September, people were curious. Carolyn Johnson, the email read, extensive athletic training background, committed to excellence and discipline. Parents whispered at pickup. Students speculated in group chats. She seems strict. Does she even understand Northcrest culture? I hope she knows how to work with elite athletes. What they really meant was clear. She doesn't look like she belongs here. Carolyn Johnson didn't arrive at Northcrest by accident. She earned it. 15 years earlier, Carolyn stood in the rain at Fort Benning, Georgia. 22 years old, first day of Army Combatives instructor training. One of 3 women in a class of 40. The men stared. Some smirked. One asked if she was sure she was in the right place. Carolyn didn't answer. She just stepped onto the mat. By the end of week 1, she'd submitted 12 soldiers. By the end of month 1, she was teaching hand-to-hand combat. By the end of year 1, she was training Rangers. Carolyn spent 8 years in the Army. She taught soldiers twice her size how to survive close combat. She deployed twice. She earned commendations. She saved lives. But after her father died, she made a choice. She wanted to be closer to home. She wanted to give back. She wanted to coach. So she left the military, earned her coaching certifications, and took a job at a public high school in New Haven. For 6 years, she built a championship program with kids who had nothing. No funding, no facilities, no support, just heart. Her teams won state titles. Her athletes earned scholarships. Her reputation grew. That's when Northcrest came calling. They wanted her experience. They wanted her results. They wanted her resume. What they didn't want was to treat her like she belonged. Carolyn's first day was September 5th. She walked onto the track at 3 p.m. sharp, clipboard in hand, whistle around her neck, eyes scanning the team. 18 athletes stood in loose clusters, talking, laughing, ignoring her. Carolyn blew her whistle once. Circle up. Slowly they moved. Ryan stood at the back, arms crossed, earbuds still in. Carolyn looked at him. Earbuds out. Ryan smiled, didn't move. Sorry, coach, didn't hear you. A few athletes snickered. Carolyn didn't blink. Earbuds out. Now. Ryan pulled them out slowly. Better? Carolyn held his gaze. 2 laps for being late to listen. Ryan laughed. I wasn't late, I was already here. 2 laps, Carolyn repeated, or you sit out today's practice entirely. The team went silent. No one talked to Ryan Nowell like that. Ryan stared at her for a long moment. Then he jogged off, slowly, smirking the whole time. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan tested her constantly. He showed up late. He skipped warm-ups. He talked during drills. When she corrected him, he'd say things like, "Relax, coach. I've been running since I was 6." Or, "My old coach let me train my way. It worked fine." Or, "I don't think you understand how elite athletes operate." But what he really meant was, "You don't belong here." Carolyn heard it. She always did. One afternoon, a parent approached her after practice. Mrs. Whitman, mother of a junior sprinter. "Coach Johnson," she said sweetly, "I just wanted to check in." "About?" "Well, my son mentioned you've been pretty hard on the team." Carolyn stayed calm. "I have high standards. That's why I was hired." Mrs. Whitman smiled tightly. "Of course, it's just Northcrest has a certain way of doing things. I'm aware. These kids are under a lot of pressure already. We just want to make sure they're being supported." Carolyn looked her in the eyes. "Ma'am, support doesn't mean lowering expectations." Mrs. Whitman's smile faded. "I see. Well, I hope you understand that parents here are very involved." "I'm counting on it," Carolyn said. But there was one athlete who didn't test her. Marcus Chen, senior, 800-meter runner. Quiet, focused. After practice one day, he stayed behind. "Coach?" Carolyn looked up. "Yeah, Marcus?" "I just wanted to say, I'm glad you're here." Carolyn paused. "Appreciate that." Marcus hesitated. "It's just, some of the guys have been saying things." "What kind of things?" "That you don't really get Northcrest. That you're too strict. That you—" He stopped. Carolyn waited. "That you what?" Marcus looked uncomfortable. "That you only got hired because the school needed to, you know, look diverse." Carolyn nodded slowly. "And what do you think?" Marcus met her eyes. "I think you're the best coach we've ever had." October 12th. Championship season was approaching. Carolyn posted new training protocols, mandatory warm-ups, timed drills, film review sessions, no exceptions. Ryan showed up 15 minutes late to practice. Again. When Carolyn called him out, he shrugged. "I had to talk to my college counselor. It's kind of important." "Then you tell me in advance," Carolyn said. "You're benched today." Ryan's face changed. "You're benching me? 2 weeks before regionals?" "You broke team rules." Ryan laughed bitterly. "Wow. Okay, so this is what we're doing now." "This is what we've always done," Carolyn said evenly. "Same rules for everyone." Ryan shook his head. "Funny how that only seems to apply to me." The team froze. "Excuse me?" Carolyn said. Ryan stepped closer. "I've seen you let other people slide. But me? I'm 15 minutes late and suddenly it's a federal case." "Sit down, Ryan." "My dad donates millions to this school." "Sit down." Ryan's voice dropped. "I don't think he'd be happy knowing his son is being singled out." Carolyn looked him straight in the eyes. "And I don't think the athletic director would be happy knowing you're threatening your coach." Ryan smirked. "Who said anything about threatening?" He leaned in just slightly. "I'm just saying, they'll believe me before they ever believe you." The air went cold. Marcus stepped forward. "Ryan, man, just drop it." "Stay out of this, Chen." Carolyn's voice was steel. "Go home, Ryan. You're done for today." Ryan didn't move. "You should be grateful you even got this job." Then he walked off. But everyone heard what he didn't say. "People like you don't belong in charge of people like me." Practice ended tense. Athletes filed out silently. Marcus lingered. "Coach, you okay?" Carolyn nodded. "I'm fine. Go home." Marcus hesitated, then left. Carolyn walked toward the equipment room to lock up. She heard footsteps behind her. "Ryan." She turned. "I told you to go home." Ryan shut the equipment room door behind him. No windows, no cameras, no witnesses. "You think you can embarrass me like that?" he said quietly. Carolyn kept her voice level. Leave. Now. Ryan laughed. You're real comfortable for someone who's replaceable. He stepped closer. You know what I think? Carolyn didn't move. I think you've been waiting to put me in my place since day one. Ryan, and I think you're in over your head. He was close now. Too close. Northcrest doesn't usually put people like you in charge of people like me. Carolyn's jaw tightened. Step back. Ryan smiled. Or what? That's when he grabbed her arm. Hard. And that's when everything changed. Carolyn didn't panic. She didn't yell. She moved. One fluid motion. Wrist twist. Step in. Arm lock. Ryan hit the floor. His shoulder wrenched at an angle. Not injured, just controlled. Completely controlled. Carolyn's voice was calm. I said leave. Ryan's eyes were wide, panicked. For the first time in his life, money meant nothing. Status meant nothing. Privilege meant nothing. He tried to pull away. Carolyn's grip didn't budge. Are we clear? Ryan nodded frantically. Carolyn released him. He scrambled to his feet, breathing hard, staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Then he ran. By 6 p.m., Carolyn was in the principal's office. Principal Hartwell sat across from her. The athletic director stood by the window. Ryan sat in the corner, pale and shaken. Coach Johnson, Hartwell began carefully, Ryan says you physically restrained him. Carolyn nodded. That's correct. Hartwell blinked. Can you explain why? He grabbed me first. I defended myself. Ryan's head snapped up. That's not... There are no cameras in the equipment room, Hartwell said. So this is your word against his. Carolyn stayed calm. Then I suggest you ask him why he followed me into a room with no cameras. Hartwell looked at Ryan. Ryan stammered. I just wanted to talk. About what? Carolyn asked. Ryan went silent. Hartwell sighed. Coach Johnson, I'm going to have to place you on administrative leave pending. The door opened. Marcus Chen walked in, followed by 3 other athletes. Principal Hartwell, Marcus said, we need to tell you something. Over the next hour, the students spoke. They described Ryan's behavior, his comments, his threats. One athlete pulled out her phone. I recorded him, she said quietly, after practice, when he was talking to his friends. She played the audio, Ryan's voice, clear as day. She acts like she's in charge, but everyone knows why she really got hired. Diversity hire, bro. My dad's already talking to the board. The room went silent. Hartwell looked at Ryan. Is this true? Ryan's face crumbled. I didn't mean... Answer the question. Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. By Friday, the investigation was in full swing. The school board met in emergency session. Donors called, parents emailed, lawyers got involved. The Nowell family hired a PR firm. They released a statement. We are deeply concerned by recent events and trust the school will handle this matter fairly and objectively. Translation: fix this or the money stops. But then something unexpected happened. Alumni started speaking up. Former students, Black and brown graduates who'd stayed silent for years. They shared their stories, the microaggressions, the isolation, the quiet racism that Northcrest never acknowledged. One alum, now a lawyer, wrote an op-ed in the Hartford Courant. Northcrest Academy has always prided itself on excellence, but excellence without equity is just elitism, and elitism without accountability is just racism with a trust fund. It went viral. On Sunday night, Carolyn sat alone in her apartment, exhausted. Her phone buzzed constantly, supportive messages, hateful messages, everything in between. She stared at the ceiling, wondering if it was worth it, wondering if anything would actually change. Her phone rang. Principal Hartwell. Coach Johnson, the board has made a decision. Carolyn closed her eyes. Okay. You're reinstated. Effective immediately. Carolyn exhaled. And Ryan? Suspended for 2 weeks, mandatory counseling, written apology, and if there's one more incident, he's expelled. Even with his family's money? Hartwell paused. The board made it clear, this isn't negotiable. Carolyn was quiet for a moment. Thank you. Don't thank me, Hartwell said. Thank your athletes. They fought for you. Ryan Nowell sat in his room, alone. He'd been suspended, humiliated, exposed. His parents barely spoke to him. His teammates avoided him. His college prospects were now in question. For the first time in his life, Ryan had consequences, and he hated it. On the 5th day of his suspension, his mother knocked on his door. Ryan, someone's here to see you. Ryan opened the door. Coach Davis stood there, Ryan's old track coach from middle school, a black man who'd mentored Ryan for 3 years. Coach Davis? Davis walked in and sat down. Your mom called me. Ryan looked away. I don't need a lecture. Good, because I'm not here to lecture you. Davis pulled out his phone and played the audio recording. Ryan's voice. Diversity hire, bro. Davis stopped the recording. That how you saw me too? Ryan's throat tightened. No, that's not. Because I was the only black coach at your school, Ryan. For 5 years. Ryan's voice cracked. I didn't mean it like that. Davis leaned forward. Then how did you mean it? Ryan couldn't answer. Davis stood up. You've got a choice now. You can be angry that you got caught, or you can actually learn something. He walked to the door. Coach Johnson didn't do anything to you, Ryan. She just refused to let you get away with what everyone else let slide. He paused. And that terrified you. 3 days later, Ryan walked into Carolyn's office. She looked up. Ryan. He stood in the doorway, hands shaking. I wanted to... He couldn't find the words. Carolyn waited. I'm sorry. It came out quiet, broken. I was wrong. About everything. The things I said, the way I treated you, what I did. He looked at the floor. I know sorry doesn't fix it, but I need you to know, I'm ashamed. Carolyn studied him. Do you understand why what you did was wrong? Ryan nodded. You were just doing your job, and I made it about race, about power, about things that had nothing to do with coaching. He looked up. You didn't deserve any of that. Carolyn was quiet for a long moment. Thank you for saying that. Ryan wiped his eyes. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why didn't you quit? Carolyn leaned back. Because I've dealt with people like you my whole life, Ryan. And if I quit every time someone underestimated me, I'd have never made it past basic training. She stood up. I didn't stay for you. I stayed for Marcus and the other athletes who needed to see that they don't have to accept disrespect. Ryan nodded. I understand. Carolyn walked to the door. You're still suspended, and when you come back, you follow every rule. No exceptions. Yes, ma'am. And Ryan? He turned. Apologies are a start, but real change takes work. I know. Carolyn nodded. Then get to work. 3 months later, Carolyn stood on the sideline at the regional championship. Her team was ready. Marcus ran the 800 meters and won. Ryan ran the 400 and placed third. Not first, but he ran clean. No shortcuts, no excuses. After the meet, he walked up to Carolyn. Coach, thanks for not giving up on me. Carolyn looked at him. I didn't do it for you. I did it because that's what coaches do. Ryan nodded. He understood. That night, Carolyn sat in her car, watching her athletes celebrate. She thought about all the times she'd had to prove herself, all the doubts, all the resistance, all the moments people assumed she didn't belong. And she wondered if it would ever end. But then she looked at Marcus, at the other athletes who'd stood up for her, at the small changes happening at Northcrest. New bias training, new policies, new conversations. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Carolyn started her car, and as she drove home, she thought about a quote from her old drill sergeant. Respect isn't given, it's demonstrated. And once people see it, they can't unsee it. Ryan Nowell had finally seen it, and Northcrest Academy was beginning to see it too. Not because Carolyn fought back, but because she refused to shrink. Because she refused to accept that her presence needed justification. Because she knew her worth, and she made them see it too. Some people are underestimated their whole lives, not because they lack qualifications, but because the world refuses to see them clearly. Carolyn Johnson didn't need to prove she belonged. She just needed people to stop assuming she didn't.